Denison community to the first Beck Series reading of 2026. How is it 2026? Can we hear it? Oh, all right, now I really feel like it's 26. That was good. Thanks to the family of Harriet Evans Beck, whose generous gift has funded this incredible series for more than 50 years. And for those of you who may not know me, I am Julia Kolchinsky, Assistant Professor of English, focusing on creative writing and specifically poetry. It is my great honor to welcome Emeritus Professor and poet, Dr. David Baker, and my dear colleague in creative writing and everyone's favorite fencing coach, Dr. Peter Grandbois, both of whom I admire as much for their writing as I do for their teaching. I want to extend deep thanks to Megan Hancock and Sam Smith from the Denison Museum for hosting this reading and always welcoming literature into this stunning space. And if you haven't checked out this exhibit of curiosities, I really encourage you to. I selected a piece in here. Professor Butcher selected the canoe, and you want to know why she selected the canoe, right? You do. So you should check out the exhibit. And a huge thank you to Jean McClaremont for all the coordination and the delicious goodies out there. So if you haven't enjoyed them, you can after the reading as well. And don't miss the many incredible readings that we have coming up this semester, with the next one in just 2 weeks, right here, same place, different time, but that's okay, on February 12th at 4:30 with acclaimed poet, essayist, and scholar Jean Dubrow, followed by MacArthur Genius Award winner and environmental poet and memoirist Drew Lanham on March 3rd, and graphic novelist Mira Jacobs on March 25th. But now, for the reason we are all here, I can talk at length about our illustrious readers, but I know you would, and I certainly would rather spotlight some of our creative writing seniors who not only get to share how they've been transformed by the work of these writers, but by their teaching. So we're going to start with senior creative writing and philosophy double major, Antonia Baylor, to introduce David, and senior creative writing and communications double major, Fiona Cogan, to introduce Peter. Please give a warm welcome.
If you should ever find yourself as a freshman at Denison University enrolling in a poetry class, which runs from 6 to 9 p.m. every Monday night, something has gone horribly wrong. There is no reason to ever take a class which spans both your dinner and what should be your bedtime. Ever. Unless, of course, that class is taught by the David Baker. I was lucky enough to take such a class as a freshman still undecided in my major. Dr. Baker's 14th poetry collection, Transit, is written with the same care with which he taught us tired but awe-stricken students. These are patient, attentive poems deeply grounded in the lived world. Someone like Dr. Baker is surely a great English teacher because he is a great writer, but maybe one can be a great writer because they are a great teacher. These poems demand that we pull bigger questions to be answered from the world around us. These poems are curious enough to notice the sorrow and beauty embedded in the natural world we inhabit. They move through landscapes and memories, contemplating how we live and change in this world which is itself always living and changing. In The New Yorker, Dan Chiazon has written that in our era of climate change, David Baker's work reminds us that poetry's task of measuring the natural world has become a vital form of witness. I am so happy that we're all here to partake in this practice together and to learn from an amazing writer and teacher. In addition to his professorship at Denison University, which began in 1984, David Baker has taught at Kenyon College, the University of Michigan, and the Ohio State University. His work has appeared in American Poetry Review, The Atlantic Monthly, The Nation, The New York Times, The New Yorker, The Paris Review, Poetry, and the Yale Review, to name only a few. Among his awards are prizes and fellowships from the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation, National Endowment for the Arts, the Theodore Rothko Memorial Foundation, Mellon Foundation, Poetry Society of America, and the Pushcart Foundation. David Baker currently lives in Granville, Ohio, and holds the title of Emeritus Professor of English at Denison University. If you ever did happen to enroll in one of these fantastic poetry workshops hosted by Dr. Baker, if you're not careful, you may eventually find yourself 4 years later, like I have, a senior English major writing my capstone project a poetry collection with one very important person to thank. So please join me in welcoming David Baker. Right. Yeah.
This is a little bitty untitled poem in my last book. And you'll understand why I'm reading it. Is there no sound to stopping? Is there no stopping? First at night, this fitful quiet, to waken now, to find such heavy snow where was nothing, trees shattered, and hear it nowhere. Cloud landscape of silence, stopping through the night, my sleep, a dream of falling beyond anywhere you might be listening. It was the other night, wasn't it? Went to bed. There was like an inch of snow out there. And woke up to, holy hell. But it's that thing at night with the snow. You can't hear it. Even the trees that were cracking and breaking. I didn't hear any of that. The world goes on entirely without us. Good thing. So I'm going to read a few poems from a brand new book that's been out for 2 weeks that I worked on for years and years. So it's nice to have it, and it's dear to my heart that I get to read it here, which feels like home. Six notes. Because I don't know what to read. I'm just going to read the first two poems and then I'll see what to do. 6 notes. Come down to us. Come down with your song, little wren. The world is in pieces. We must not say so. In the dark hours, in the nearest branches, I hear you thrum. The deer come to die beside the creek. Mud, the color of walnut stain. Reek and runoff from the new development, there, beyond the woods. Rib and skull, no jawbone. It makes a soundless scream. I hope for peace when I walk here sometimes in the dark. If not peace, clarity. If not clarity, at least a place to breathe. Else, I'll scream too. Come down, little dove, far above the bay. I hear you in a thirsty palm, or up beyond the rocks, a windy reed of song. Blue sun, blue cloud above the sweeping bay. Sometimes we have to say so. I don't know how. A man, a boy, an anger with no tongue, took his automatic rifle to school today. The report we hear, discharge, echo, is the sound of sorrow, reloading. No matter where we walk, we hear it call. Little wing. Little creek, little bay, dark hour, come down with your beaks of morning and blood. I'm being quiet because I don't want to start talking about guns. Late Georgic in a field in Ohio. Why students should know what a Georgic is. It's on the final exam, right? Nature poem, but its purpose is to instruct. It's a teaching poem, how to do something. And in this case, the speaker is the learner. Late Georgic in a field in Ohio. Take my hand, she said, and I lay my palm on top of her hand, and she knelt a little. I knelt beside her, and she waved as with a wand, the small light she held like a pencil, tracing in the humming air a phosphorescent J. We were in clover. We were in Jimson in the field. We were in sedge grasses wet with the birthing of mid-evening. I have been a biologist all my life, she said, and I love this more than anything. J, in the deep blue air. J, J, and the red-winged blackbirds chipped from the cattails around the pond, and a jet glided homebound or outbound in the low horizon. J, she wrote. We wrote. And then a blink answered from its cave of curled grasses. And another came toward us in a funny sort of dancing, rise and fall, and I realized we were speaking, all of us. Firefly, an awkward human couple, not a couple. And the wonder was not that they answered us. The wonder was, it dawned on us finally to ask. I call them lightning bugs, but it was a poem, so I changed it to fireflies. You can talk to them. If it's the right season, if it's like early June, late May, if it's the right time of night when the lightning bugs are coming up out of the grass, as they do, come up a few inches and drop back down, and come up a few inches more and drop back down. It takes them an hour to get up into the trees. And they're doing that. And if you watch them, they don't just like blink. They move. And when they move, the light for that second or 2 seconds often inscribes something that looks like a J. And they respond to that. And we had, there in this little field outside Gambier, this cloud of lightning bugs around us in a sort of loose universe. Like in lightning bug language, like, hey. Because that's apparently a mating call. So cool. Try it. It's a poem called After Long Illness. I got really, really sick here in 1993. I know the year because it was the year after my daughter was born. And I was sick, really bad sick for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And they finally figured out probably what it was. And it's a chronic thing. I still have it, but it's pretty much in remission. This is a poem. This is a new poem, but it remembers going out to the bioreserve for the first time in ages and being able to walk that far. You go to the bioreserve? Jeez, what a place. So for the poets in here, this one's in 4-syllable lines. That's a stupid length. Don't do that. it's just like that big, but it's got a great discipline to it if you can swing it. So one day I went for a walked down to the Kingfisher Creek. It had been 5 years, maybe more. Down, I counted the many steps past the wood duck ponds. Mid-April, the spring peepers sang. Pseudocrease crucifer, that's their name, from moss logs and willow mulch, from cattails low and high all around these trees. Their brown song rose and fell in little gasps. Sycamore, sassafras, while a goldfinch pulled a slender thread from height to height. There is no more story to tell, except I had not died. And one sound I heard along the small wing of creek I still cannot name. I seldom speak of such things, though I had come so far to hear it. Was it my soul? What do I know? The sound the wind made deep in those trees, cottonwood, birch, and the leaves utterly still. I'll read a couple more, I think, because I want to hear Peter. But I'm going to read a slightly old one. I've got it off the path. Sorry. This is a slightly earlier poem. This book that I'm reading from came out in 2022. And it's also about that illness. And it's about my daughter. I'm in one of the phrase. I'm going to be her grandfather. We just found out. Well, I found out a month ago, but she would kill me if I told people before it was the right time to tell people. So you get to hear it. This is about her when she was a little girl. I was really sick. And it's March. It's not a terrible week. I don't feel great, but not bad. The weather's okay. And she announces that she wants a swing set. Big swing set. I mean, not a little like, the whole thing. So it's Friday. I get in my truck. I drive to Lowe's. And I buy all the stuff to build the Woody swing set. I buy the plans. I've got all the tools at home, but I get the wood. Most of it's pre-cut. Most of it, in fact, some of the holes we filled, I could not pick up any of it easily. And I got it there, got it in the backyard, spread it out, read the instructions, wired up my yards with my little drill, at which point it started to sleet. You know, Ohio sleet. It's like, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt more than rain and more than snow. You're going to feel this for days. But she's so excited. I just stood out there for 3 days and I made this thing. Damn it. And I said, go out there and play. Have fun, damn it. And it was a work of art. It was beautiful. It had slides and a little fort up there and, you know, all that stuff. Anyway, snow falling. That's the other reason I read illustrated. I aimed to work all weekend for teacups, tiny shoes like two thin ones. I had not been well for so long. By the time I wired the backyard, the right tools, a book of specs laid out, its diagrams and directions, that I could choose among such languages, it had started, first as mist, a cold sheet, less as falling than floating against the gray sublime of pines, like a coat of what's to come, a crackling among pine needles, more static than whisper, more shiver than chill. She wanted, who's to say then, it's too cold, little one, I'm not well. No, not just now. A place to play in the yard, a slide, a swing, or two. Who can say what passes for health when you've been so long? Fevers. I cut the A-frames to size, measured, marked off spots to drill for the standing platform. I sawed in a whiteout of sound, but for talking to myself. There were lilacs willing to open their black buds all along the slippery walk, but no. Black water in the creek, crusted at the banks. It was like singing the days, I tell you. But no, whatever song there was frost breaking over grass. Wind leaned against dark limbs. I worked the weekend through. I raised the beams, I screwed them tight, and fixed a slide so she could play. A swing set, a cradle of snow, a thing I made for her. And now it seems for you, amid the world's broken and shining veins. So I will read one more. Go on. Let's say before I do, how grateful I am to be here and see you. Yeah. And in this fantastic museum, with thanks to my colleagues and my old students, a couple of whose names I remember, all of whose faces I recognize. And it's really nice. I am a retired professor. My title is Emeritus Professor. This last poem is a new poem. It's never been published, any of that. It's called Emeriti. So I retired at the end of spring 2024, finally, after I retired 2 years before that. And I immediately on retirement bought myself a present. I got cataract surgery. I mean, I'm telling you, I went all out. I got cataract surgery. And my partner and I, as soon as I could sort of see, it takes a little while for that second eye to unwobble and focus. We got on a plane and we went to our happy place, this little island where there aren't many people, where we go write and walk and study the fish and the trees and it's in there. And we're walking along this old stone path. It's so old, this path. I'm getting way off. We had gone on a bird adventure with a Park Service person the year before, walking down this old path. And she said, "Oh, stop." I leaned out. I said, "Look, this is Arawa potted." The Arawa, 500 years, 1,000 years. And this pieces of pottery were still there, these little pieces. So we're walking along this boardwalk between a sort of beach and this more smelly
salt fat. And in front of us and around us, that like fans and itty species of stuff. And the rapid and standing there like that. The sun so but then it was you see from the street you can hear but think that we know what was going on and figured out some of this that the sand crabs had just hatched. There were tens, hundreds of thousands of tiny little crabs moving away from us in the gravel and then died. And it looked like whales. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go back and see that eye doctor and tell him it didn't work. These things are moving until we figured it out. Well, here's the thing why I'm telling you all of this. The Latin name for these particular Caribbean sand crabs is Emerita portoricensis. Get it? How's that? Oh, that's just too good. Sometimes a poem is like, you have to do this with that word. So this is Emerita. That's the plural. What did you see then? You, on ahead at the swamp. Tangle of mangrove along the salt pond side. Blight of sea grapes to our right, running to the shore beyond. We thought we lived in a peaceful place. I turned to watch two green mallards paddle there on the pond, turned rancid and brown, and had to grab a handrail to steady myself. I was a week out with my new lenses, retirement eyes. It's not what you think. The far waiting night errand, the crooked boardwalk, these were clear. But a few feet away, the sand, the crushed pebbles wavered and blurred. Then there you were. Sand crabs, you whispered. Thousands just watched. The rancor, the deceit, faces of fascists passing as reasonable people. What we went home to. Emerita was amphibians, slipping into burrows no bigger than BBs. Portoricensis, said our book, who lived simply on plankton and detritus in the low sky. Greed, forbiddance, the sudden yell. I need to see the world for what it is. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Hear me okay? My name is Fiona Kogan, and it is my sincere pleasure to introduce my mentor, Dr. Peter Grandbois, who will be reading from his new work this evening. I have had the pleasure of taking 4 classes with the extraordinary Dr. Grandbois during my time at Denison. I know, it's surprising, right? And I am so excited to have the opportunity to hear him read his work. Dr. Grandbois is the author of 15 books, including his most recent novella, Cat People and Dream Memories of the 50-Foot Woman, which he'll be reading from this evening. His work has appeared in nearly 200 different journals. His plays have been nominated for several New York Innovative Theater Awards and have been performed in St. Louis, Columbus, Los Angeles, and New York. He is currently a poetry editor at Boulevard Magazine and is a professor of creative writing here at Denison, as well as coaching our award-winning fencing team. Go team. The fiction writing class I took with Dr. Grandbois during my sophomore year, rewriting fairy tales, has been the inspiration for my senior capstone writing project this year. In his class, we traversed the world of classic fairy tales such as Sleeping Beauty, Rumpelstiltskin, Bluebeard, and many more, as well as exploring the art of adapting and rewriting these tales for a modern audience. Dr. Grandbois' expansive knowledge and intelligent critiques made for an inspiring semester. My senior capstone project is a novel, with Dr. Grandbois as my advisor, that delves into the fairy tale world and all things magical. Dr. Grandbois has been a phenomenal mentor, not just to me, but to all of the students in her class. He deals with volumes of rewritten pages, spirited debates about plot holes, and countless last-minute changes, and we've put him through his paces. Just this morning, I presented a chapter where one of my characters broke his arm and then proceeded to drive a car, get in a fight, and do lots of things that make no sense for someone with a broken arm. Again, plot holes. Dr. Grandbois gently steered me in the right direction. Dr. Grandbois has not only improved my technical skills, but has encouraged me to pursue the crazy challenges I've set forth for myself. Without his help, I would not have had the confidence to push forward in many moments of doubt, and I'm beyond grateful for his kindness, patience, and wisdom in guiding me through this process. Therefore, I am honored to introduce Dr. Peter Grandbois.
Really nice. Really, thank you very much. And no, the technical aspects were not that bad in the story. But yeah, fairy tales are fun. And so thank you for that introduction. Thanks, Julia. Thank you to the Beck Series here for having us read. Thank you to David. Can you all hear me okay? I want to make sure I'm doing all right. Thank you to David for those stunning poems. I've had the pleasure of reading Transit already, and it's another beautiful book. I continue to learn from David Baker, so thank you. I'll be reading from this new, again, novel, Cat People novella, Dream Memories of a 50-Foot Woman. Those that have followed some of my work know that I tend to write some strange things, and I've written a lot of works inspired by old 1940s, 1950s movies, monster movies. And interestingly enough, Cat People and Attack of the 50-Foot Woman were two of the books that I wanted to write first a long time ago. And they've taken me 10 years to write. Trying here and there to find what the story was about and failing, and then giving up for a while, thinking about it, spending time with it, and then somehow you find your way. So these stories I obsessed over for a long time. I'll talk a little bit about why, I guess, we go through it. But Cat People, I'm going to read from a section here in Cat People. Anybody seen the movie Cat People? No? Oh, wow. There's, okay, a couple, my family. 1942 version of Cat People. It's still considered a classic. It's taught in a lot of film schools, a lot of innovative film techniques used in that film. It's a great film. They remade it in 1982. And so also was considered, that 1982 film was considered a masterpiece at the time. Siskel and Ebert, the big critics at the time, yeah, big thumbs up for that film. And that's the film that I saw when I was a teenager, and I became obsessed with, and that continued a lifelong obsession with Cat People. And this book is in some ways a way to try to figure that out. The book retells the story of Cat People in the 2000s. Some characters, Nastasha Kinski, an actress from the 80s, is one of the characters. She played the main character, Irena Dubrovna, who's the protagonist of the Cat People. Simone Simon, a French actress from the 1942 film. She's a character that played Irena Dubrovna. The other fictional characters in the film are characters. And then there's this character of Peter that's also in the book and the writer. And so I'm going to read from a section from Peter here of his first experience of seeing this film. And I'll start there. You know the moment the opening title graphics appear on the 1982 version, it's a B movie. Clearly, I didn't think it was a masterpiece at the time. Well, not a B movie exactly, but also not the masterpiece Siskel and Ebert claimed in their show at the movies. A claw slashes the screen, then the words Cat People appear floating above the claw mark as reddish-orange sand blows across a reddish-orange landscape, revealing skulls. Whether it's a masterpiece or schlock, you don't care. It promises something you can't yet name, but you hope to name it by the end of the film. The jungle music of David Bowie's soundtrack, all percussion and chanting, no words. You're entering a world beyond words. Something stirs in the far dark inside you, not something you're familiar with, and certainly not something you're comfortable with. Like the original fairy tales, not the Disneyfied versions we see now, but the oldest forms we have. The fairy tales that were recorded by Perrault or Delarue, among others. Fairy tales that were told in the shadows from the firelight to children for century upon century, not to warn them of the dangers that lie in wait if they step off the known path and into the woods, though that was certainly part of it, but rather to remind them that the real danger, the only true danger, lay deep in the forest within themselves. Within a half page, Delarue's Little Red is eating the body and drinking the blood of her dead grandmother, only to be called a slut by the house cat as she gets naked and slips into bed with Granny, the wolf. "Oh, Granny, how hairy you are!" With each new exclamation from Little Red, we walk deeper into that forest, the place we fear to go. With each new cry, "Oh, Granny, what big shoulders you have!" we confront another taboo. Before Little Red ever hopped into bed with her wolf grandmother, she committed cannibalism. And now with each "Oh, Granny," we move closer to what? To incest? Bestiality? Rape of a minor? The list goes on. And yet we can't stop reading. And yet here you are, age 18, sitting in the theater in Buckingham Square Mall in Aurora, Colorado, and you can't stop watching as the cat people moves just as quickly as Delarue or Perrault into the forbidden. The place you want to go, but don't dare. And that's when you see it, crouching in the shadows at the edge of your vision, the thing. "I saw a monster," you tell your friend Rob, who came to the theater with you. "I saw it crouched at the end of the aisle." But when you look again, it's gone. And then you question whether you said, "I saw a monster," or "I am a monster." You turn to your friend, but he's so engrossed in the film, you realize he couldn't have heard you. Did you even say it aloud? "I saw a monster. I am a monster." On screen, Irena stands in her nightgown over a sleeping Oliver at his bayou cabin. She watches, wanting him. Her hands move slowly, one over her breasts, the other between her legs, rubbing herself through her nightgown. An animal cries from deep in the bayou. She turns off the light and walks outside into the darkness. She walks slowly, painfully slow, in fact, as if with each step she is discovering something new about herself. No words are spoken. The only sound for the 3 minutes and 13 seconds of the longest scene in the movie is the occasional cry of a bird. She pulls her nightgown over her head, revealing Kinski's sleek young body. She was 20 at the time, only 2 years older than you now. She walks naked through the woods for the next 3 minutes. The camera hides nothing. Kinski owns the moment, not a hint of the girlish shyness of her previous scenes. She walks with the same boldness with which she posed the year before for the controversial Vogue cover, naked except for the python wrapped seductively about her. She hears another noise to her right. You hear a noise to your right. She stops and turns with the slow, predatory movement of an animal, a cat. You stop and turn. There it is again. We see what she sees, indentations in the grass, tracks. We see what you see, a snake slithering over a branch. Her eyes glow. Your eyes glow with the animal power rising within. She spots a rabbit. You see an owl take flight. Now she's down on all fours, closing in on the kill. Your friend Rob finds you in the aisle, crouched on all fours. "What are you doing?" he says. "I saw a monster," is what you try to say, but all that comes out is a growl. Kinski returns to the cabin. Your friend takes you by the arm and leads you to the lobby. Oliver wakes and turns on the light. The lobby light blinds you, and you cover your eyes. She screams at him, "Don't look at me!" Blood covering her hands, her face. She swats away the light. You make an excuse to your friend and run to the bathroom. You wash your hands in the sink, splash water over your face, and look in the mirror. "Don't look at me," you shout. Who are you talking to? The face in the mirror staring back at you, or the figure crouched in the corner at the edge of your vision, the figure like the black arch of a doorway that would take you where exactly? And you don't understand a thing. You have no idea why the scene plays over and over in your mind on the way home. You're embarrassed by the desire the scene stirs in you. Of course, you're no stranger to the naked female body. You stole your uncle's Playboys a few years before and keep them stashed beneath your bed. But this is something wholly different. Not lust, at least not completely, though that's probably part of it. It's complicated. It makes you uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. At home, you feel nauseous. You tell Rob you want to rest. You lie down in bed, close your eyes, but you can't help feeling as if you're being stalked, as if the thing you saw in the theater is here, now, in the bedroom with you. What did you feel then? Desire? Shame? Desire mixed with shame? The harder you think, the more it eludes you. The more you think about the figure you are now convinced is crouched in the corner of your room, just behind the open closet door. The figure that grows larger and larger, stirring in the far dark as the feeling makes its way to your throat. Feelings and thoughts that don't reconcile with a guy whose second girlfriend left him because she wanted sex and he couldn't take the hint. You open your eyes, rise from the bed, and look behind that door. Nothing there. I saw a monster. I am a monster. In the kitchen, you make yourself a bowl of cereal. Unable to escape the feeling of being watched, you play the bayou scene over again in your mind, this time from outside your body. You see your gaze focused, cat-like on the screen, but there's something more. You couldn't name it at the time, can barely understand it now. You also see your body twitch, the way you squirm in your theater seat as if trying to escape. Simultaneously predator and prey. Even while you hunted Nastasha Kinski with your newly found gaze, she hunted you, or rather her naked body as used by the director, the studio execs, by everyone involved in the movie preyed on you. There was shame around that too. The blatant ease with which they captured your gaze, cashed in on it, commodified it. Yet another way you and Nastasha Kinski were the same. But did she feel the shame you did? It didn't seem likely. The way she moved so confident in her naked body through that bayou. Was she really in control, or was that seeming confidence merely a cover, like your white shirt, hiding the long history of predation from her father, her first director, the entire film industry? The TV looms behind you in the living room, not yet the big screens of today, but big enough, a gaping black hole. You remember all those afternoons after school, going straight to that living room, lazy boy, and watching show after show. I Dream of Jeannie, Gilligan's Island, Bewitched, Charlie's Angels. You loved them all. You couldn't stop watching, unaware of the feelings Ginger, Marianne, Jeannie, Jill, and Samantha stirred in you. The TV watches you now, too. You're sure of it. Watching, waiting. But you won't give in. You won't. Until you will. Eat the cereal. Keep eating. Stuff yourself full. Stuff your mouth full. Stuff it so full you can't scream. Of course, the bayou scene wasn't the only one that haunted you. That night you lie in bed thinking of the ending of the film when Irena begs Oliver to make love to her. He does so, but first he ties her to the bed, her arms and legs spread-eagled. You think about it, and again that thing forms in the dark corner of your room. Even now you can't write about the scene without feeling as if you're losing whatever it is that makes you you, or perhaps finding it. Like a map laid before you, or perhaps a map you've yet to write. One that is more a record than a map, a record of what it means to wander into your own woods, a record of what it means to be lost. Is this story that map? A question you ask yourself over and over as you write this. Is this story the path through the woods? And if so, where does the path lead? Does it lead to grandmother's house? To the witch lying in wait? Is there a darker monster at the center? One with whom you are perhaps more than a little familiar? Or is this all a lie? The answer is impossible to know. But you want to know. But you can't know. But you want to know. But you can't. So, as the story, well, when I was conceiving of the story, Irena Dubrovna, the cat person, the protagonist of the novel and of the films, I thought she wasn't going to have a voice. Not probably a very smart idea for a writer. I had my idea, I had my reasons why. And as I was writing the story, her voice kept coming up. And she kept demanding to have her own voice. And so eventually she starts warring with the character of Peter, and she takes over control of writing the novel. And eventually, as you see on the cover here, she writes the second one, Dream Memories of a 50-Foot Woman, which we'll get to. So I'm just going to read a page from Irena just to give you a sense of her voice as she's emerging here early in the novel. And then we'll go on to Dream Memories. So this is from Irena. Of all the things that disturb me most, it's the fact that someone is writing about a woman with my own name, who may or may not be me. Someone is recording events of a life I'm not sure is mine, and worst of all, they're not giving me a voice. It's as if someone's watching me all the time, writing down everything I say and do, but it's not me. It's someone imitating me. It's someone trying to talk through me, or maybe I'm talking through them. It all gets so confusing. I sometimes get the feeling that someone is tying me up, spreading my legs, my arms, and tying me to a bed. It's very difficult to put together a whole. Why do writers try? I mean, what is a whole Irena? Is she an old woman in a black sequined hat and fur stole? Sometimes I think that's her. Is she something else? A young woman made of drought? Yes, I know, a metaphor, but she can be a metaphor too. It's so difficult to speak truth. I mean, language is nothing if not a kind of apology. I don't know what else to say. An apology for being, an apology for longing, for existence. This is the way the world works. There's someone else in my body. something else, something talking through me or through him, or maybe I'm in his body. I'm talking through him. Maybe he and I are the same. Maybe we need a language to speak this thing out. It's like I'm giving birth, only our child is a monster. At least he thinks it's a monster. Maybe I'm the monster. Maybe Irena is the monster. Yes, she. Let's keep her at arm's length. If she is the monster, what then is inside of her? And I'll leave it at that a little bit. And then we'll go to Dream Memories, which again, Irena takes over control of the first book and writes the second one. It was a very liberating experience for me to have a heteronym, to have this other character write the book. I think and it's sort of a different voice emerged in that book. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman was a story that inspired me for a long time. Really, the movie's terrible. From 1958, it's pretty bad. I'm going to show you a clip here in a second. But what intrigued me about the story, about the movie, was actually the actress Allison Hayes, born Mary Jane Hayes. She plays Nancy Archer in the movie. That's her character. But Allison Hayes had a tragic life. She died young. She had been slowly poisoned. She was taking vitamin supplements that had, back then they put lead in the vitamin supplements and in vitamins and also in baby food. So many people died from that or went crazy or had all sorts of problems. And she was a B-movie actress. She hated movies. And she was taking these vitamin supplements and slowly going crazy. She was branded as difficult actress and slowly died a kind of sad, lonely life. Or had a sad, lonely existence. And so that story spoke a lot to me. And then seeing the film, you'll see in the film clip here, Nancy Archer, the main character, often saying, "Do you think I'm crazy? No one will believe me. No one believes me." Really struck a chord in this sort of sense again. I think both books are feminist in their slant, and I think that sort of struck a chord, this sort of sense of no one listening to this woman in life or in the movie. And so as I write the story, it takes place in her deathbed in the hospital and moves in and out of her consciousness. It's one long sentence. And as she remembers her life, as she remembers her movies that she's in, but also, again, it was a tragic life. And so I wanted to give her a more transcendent story. So the two sections I'm going to read really are sort of steps in her transcendence towards something else, maybe something better. So I'm going to try to show this clip. We'll see. This is from...
Once a normal, voluptuously beautiful woman, she drove into a nightmare of horror and saw descending from the sky a titanic monster whose fearsome touch became a frightful curse.
You think I'm drunk, don't you? All of you! I'm not drunk! I'm not! You've got to believe me. Please. It was right in the middle of the highway, 30 feet tall.
Once she's in the booby hatch, throw the key away. That'll put you in the driver's seat. You'd make a wild driver, Harry. With $50 million.
What she saw was beyond belief until others, too, faced its hideous, uncontrollable menace. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, incredibly huge, with incredible desires for love and vengeance.
That movie's been remade a couple times, and actually right now, Margot Robbie has signed on to work with Tim Burton to make the latest remake. So we'll have another Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. So there's something that strikes, I don't know, something that strikes deep. So again, here's from Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, the one long sentence moving in and out of her mind and memory. And hopefully you got a little bit there, the sphere, the hand, and so on, some of the iconography of the film. Here is the apocalypse, one more in a series of many bad films. And so she's Allison again, acting opposite a talking mule. In her first feature, Frances joins the wax. So in the 50s, there was a series of films with a talking mule named Frances. Anyway, Frances joins the wax. And the world of the set is white and still. And look at Donald O'Connor marching up and down, back and forth, making sexual innuendos with the woman whenever he gets a chance. And the plummeting of her own heart is like a stone in a pool. And the rings spread out encircling her. The rings spread out farther and farther back through time, back inside the time with her mother and the desire for her touch. And she rolls her eyes because she can't imagine a worse fate than being in a movie. She hates movies, and yet it's the career she's chosen. Why? She doesn't know. Perhaps it has to do with her mother. Doesn't everything? And now she's losing days to seasons she'll never know, and that's when she sees her co-star Julia Adams, fresh from her role in Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the clouds peel back like a pool cover, revealing a sky blue and bottomless, and she begins to cry. And she doesn't understand why at first. She feels the crying in her head, but then she realizes it's coming from her chest. It's coming from deep within the sphere. Her sadness is the world entire, and it is within her. And now everything is uncertain. Now she has become formless, and she doesn't remember what they said to each other, or even if they spoke at all. And none of this is real, Francis, the talking mule says, nudging her in the behind with his muzzle. And she thinks she must be going crazy, because here is a talking mule standing around as if he owns the place. But then she remembers, of course, he's the star of the film, the star of countless films, not Donald O'Connor, not even Julia. And then he speaks again, saying, none of this is real, but it is real, she thinks, as real as anything she's ever known. The dark line of Julia's face, that's real, and the eyes free of the inconvenience of having to be understood, those are real too. But otherwise, the mule's right. You know I am, he says, stomping his foot 3 times, or his hoof 3 times. And from that point on, she does whatever she can to get away from the mule and to occupy the same space as Julia. And she knows if she gets close enough, she can hear Julia's music, Chopin Nocturne Opus 9, number 2, in E-flat major. It's all she needs, all she's ever needed. And she wants to sit at the piano again for the first time since the Miss America pageant, and she feels like herself again for the first time since she can't remember. But the problem is she's a minor character in the film and a minor character in Julia's world. And so she tries to map a path to Julia, but finds that she no longer knows which path means going forward and which means going back. And Donald is never far away, and he can't seem to get enough of Julia either. And then it happens. The unthinkable happens, because one night when filming goes later than usual, she suggests a midnight stroll before bed, something to work off the stress of the set, and Julia, to her surprise, agrees. And halfway through the walk, she thinks she's going to die because she can't stop shaking. She's shaking so bad that Julia becomes concerned. It's not even cold out. It's summer in Los Angeles, for God's sake. And Julia puts her arm around her as they walk, talking of their shared love of music, Julia's childhood in Arkansas and Allison's in West Virginia. And they laugh about how they each changed their names, a symbol of a new life, and how those old names said so much about their old lives in Arkansas and West Virginia, how Julia was born Betty May, and of course Allison was Mary Jane, and how they both came up through the beauty pageant circuit, and how Julia was 4 years older than Allison, but she would live nearly 50 years longer, and though they didn't know that last part then, they felt it in the sharp stones and the dirt they walked over. And at one point, Allison is shaking so bad, Julia takes her in her arms. She's shaking so bad that Julia takes her and turns her so that they stand face to face, inches from each other, and it was like falling. Allison would later remember, as if we fell into each other. And she knows it is cliche, but her first thought is that she didn't know it could be like this, and she's embarrassed by the banality of that thought, but that doesn't make it less true. There can be truth hidden down deep inside the biggest cliche, just like there is sadness and grief hidden deep in the sphere inside every person, so deep we almost never can touch it, almost never open the door to let it out. And she's kissed men before, many times, she thinks, but nothing like this warm and tended fire, nothing like this song filled with what? She doesn't have time to think because Julia pulls her into a garden filled with trees she hasn't even noticed, and she pulls her into that small curtain space free from the eyes of others, free from shame and guilt and so many things we keep locked in the sphere. And then we'll pass over that part that's a little X-rated, and we'll go on to, and mending takes these small, precise steps, she thinks. Yes, exactly these steps. And then it's over. And she opens her eyes, and Julia's gone, if she was ever there at all. And then she sees it, the mule's face watching her from within the wood, from within the garden, Francis, the talking mule, watching them, because Julia was there with her. She knows it to be true. and she feels it with everything within her. But Francis, the talking mule, opens his big mouth. Nothing is real, he says again. Not the long hallways of childhood fear, not the stale paper rooms of adulthood, and certainly not love. And so she grabs a rock and runs at him, but he doesn't budge, stubborn mule. He just stomps his hoof 3 times. And she hurls the rock at him. It's real. It's real. It is real, she says. I'm not crazy. And Francis hoofs at the ground 3 times again. Hold this night of wanting the rest of your life, he says. Pack it deep in the sphere and let it sustain you. Let it grow within you until you are a god. And then let it break you, because that's what happens to gods. And so I'll just close briefly with a brief excerpt from later on as she moves in her transcendence, in her alternate story that I hope to give her. Her alternate story. And the giant hand extends toward her from the sphere, and the air thrums, and the desert sand vibrates as through a sifter, and in a moment the desert is no longer what it was, and she is no longer what she was. And how to trace our vanish into such a strong caress, how to know when one being ends and another begins, and how to know when not to fight. We can't blame her for forgetting what it was to kneel in the desert, for forgetting that brief moment when she felt the God inside her, but now she is fighting that God. Please remember, Nancy. Again, Nancy, the character from Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Please remember, Nancy, you have your whole life to be each of yourselves, your whole life to open to the 1,000 others inside. We know it feels as if they're all fighting to possess you in this moment, but it's not true. Let them take you, Nancy. Let them take you and remind you again how it feels to walk on your knees, to feel how the giant's hand embraces you. Let go, Nancy, and sink deep into that hand and wait for return. Wait for the you that will be. Feel the fingers' hunger, their callous tips an offering. And of course, Harry backs away. Of course, Harry leaves his wife to get his gun from the car. He has always been afraid of the monstrous, not understanding it comes from within. Handsome Harry would never look within. Better to drown the monster inside with alcohol, with whiskey and bourbon. Better to pull out a gun and shoot at the monster outside. And so he shoots at the giant hand again and again. But still, it keeps coming, reaching for Nancy, reaching for him. Silly Harry, why did he think it would be any different? You can't kill a god without or within. And then Nancy cries, Harry, Harry, help me! Harry, help me! But Harry's not made for such violent transformations. He is fashioned from weaker material than his wife. And so he turns tail and runs and climbs in the car and bullets out of there straight home, leaving her to face the emptiness, to face the sphere, that giant hand alone. And all she is now is the little comfort we can offer. And so we try as best we can. It's okay, Nancy, we say. The real hero faces the emptiness alone. And that's you. It's certainly not Harry. It's you. It's always been you, because you are known, Nancy. We see you. We are witness to the only act of true heroism a person can do, facing their loneliness, facing the emptiness, and doing it alone. Of course, it has to be done alone. Please don't blame Harry. He simply doesn't have it in him. He lacks the hero's necessary quality, which is, quite simply, the ability to be alone in the desert. Exactly what you're doing now, because in that place, a person can't escape certain thoughts. And you know what they are, the things we never admit to thinking, even in our darkest moments. Things like our love for each other must give way to absence, give way to the unknown. Things like how we must jump into the emptiness, the same way we might jump into the bark of a tree and let its rings surround us. And of course, we must do it in the desert, or perhaps a deep ocean, or maybe a vast blue sky. Anywhere that stretches endlessly in the direction of our loneliness, stretches into a perhaps world, a world of becoming an etching of holy, but still she doesn't believe. Perhaps she can't hear us because still she struggles in the giant's grasp, and still she cries to her husband, handsome Harry, Harry, help me! Harry, help me! And so we try once more to make her hear us. We try once more to calm the tide of her fear as we shout, unwrap the dust from your clothes, Nancy. Spill it over the desert. Let the dust that was you drift on the air like a dark river. It is the newly shaped self in the dust you hunger for. Feel that hunger. Let yourself go and fall into it. Take the shape of the hand, and in doing so, you will become the hand. Let the hand choose that within you that will then become. And thus the transformation begins. And she is no longer an abstraction, watching the film of her life run over and over. And she no longer sits passively in the theater, nor does she pretend, and she is no longer imitating a life, and she will become enormous. Though others may call her monstrous, there is nothing more monstrous than a woman who has become. And she will become eternal. Though others may see her death as the only solution, and she has learned the path of rage, and we humans are small and crawl unnoticed. But you, Nancy, you have become a world entire, and then it hits us, and we are overcome, and we wish you were alive, Allison. We wish you hadn't died so early, so tragically, so you could receive the many voices of this book. We wish you'd listened harder to Nancy's struggles instead of writing them off as just another paycheck, just another movie. Then you too would write the poem that is you becoming desert, becoming dirt, becoming a woman alone, hearing the sparrows at dawn, becoming a woman as wanderer over cities and rivers, people and mountains. That's it. Thank you for your time.